after the 2016 Democratic primary, a lot of the progressives were chagrined, to say the least, that they got cheated, right? And they got cheated in a million different ways. And so they had this thing called the Unity Committee or Commission, so that Bernie Sanders got to appoint like 9 people on it, and then Hillary Clinton got to appoint like 13 people on it. It wasn't even.
It sounds like unity.
Sounds like unity right away. So anyway, what they came up with was they got rid of superdelegates in the first round of voting. So you know what superdelegates are? They get their vote counts 10,000 more, and they're always party insiders. So that's their way of taking the control of the party away from voters. So voters, meaning people like me and you, go and vote. They don't want us to decide who gets to be the presidential nominee. They want to decide.
No matter if you're a state.
Right.
As a majority, let's say your state with majority, voted for Bernie. They can decide where they want to give their...
Like in West Virginia. So like in West Virginia in 2016, every county went for Bernie, but every one of the delegates went to Hillary Clinton. So do you want to say something, Matt?
When you said that their votes count like 10,000, like that's not an exaggeration.
No, that's not an exaggeration.
They're just crazy. Yeah. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So they get to basically control who the nominee is. And so they got rid of those superdelegates voting. They didn't get rid of superdelegates. They got rid of them voting in the first round in the primary at the convention. So when they announced that, and that was supposed to be a big victory, I immediately said, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one who said this, that what they're going to do is now flood the race with as many quote-unquote progressives to fake people out, split the vote, make sure it goes to a second round, and then the superdelegates are going to get to choose. Well, lo and behold, here's Pete Buttigieg. He's playing out that exact strategy. It says Team Buttigieg aggressively courts superdelegates in preparation for a contested convention. There it is. As predicted. So he doesn't care who the people pick. He wants the superdelegates to pick him. I'll just read you from the Yahoo article. Pete Buttigieg's presidential campaign is taking proactive steps for the possibility of a contested convention, including an aggressive effort to court Democratic Party insiders who could cast crucial votes in such a scenario. This reform didn't do anything. It just made the Democratic insiders figure out new ways to cheat. The South Bend mayor's team held a conference call with a group of so-called superdelegates on Monday to ask them for their support. And how do we know about this? Well, they invited the Daily Beast to sit in on the phone call. They're not embarrassed about this. They want everybody to know. Hey, we're trying to go get those super delegates, the super oligarchs who have more power than you to vote. That's who we want to throw the election. It was just the latest sign that the mayor's aides are still playing catch-up against competitors such as former Vice President Joe Biden, who has been cultivating relationships with party insiders for nearly 40 years. So that's what, again, the party does not represent you. The party represents the donors. The party does not represent you. And so this is a big problem if Bernie Sanders if he doesn't win on the first round, if Bernie Sanders doesn't win the nomination for president outright on the first round, everything he's done for the last 4 years, but as far as politics goes, has been a failure. Now, of course, he's had big successes with Amazon and Disney, getting them to raise the $15 minimum wage.
Hell yeah.
Those are big wins. He's gotten everybody to say they at least have to give lip service now to Medicare for all. That's a big, huge shift he got. So Bernie's done some great things, but and so all kudos to him, by the way, for that. I don't mean to downplay that, but here we are. His gamble that I'm going to sheep herd progressives into this party that actively cheats progressives on every level. On every level. They shut out progressives. If he's going to sheep herd them into a party that cheats them actively on every level, and he doesn't win, and now all these people are now left to vote for who? And we have nobody in a third party position to pull them left. I think it will be a huge failure because this is exactly what's happening. Party insiders are going to, if it goes to a second ballot, which is exactly what's happening, they flood the contest, the primary, with 20 people or 22 people. Now, I don't know. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. And that's probably, and Pete Buttigieg knows that. And that's why he's doing this.
You know, Jimmy, I just want to point out, of course, you know, you already highlighted party insiders. But what's interesting is that they're highlighting that Joe Biden has cultivated relationships with party insiders for over 40 years. There's no examination of the Democratic Party cultivating real relationship with the people.
The people.
By actually having platform and a vision. I haven't heard of a jobs program. I still haven't heard of a jobs program. So when they say cultivating relationships for 40 years, that means for the last 40 years, they haven't given two shits about the public.
So this, do you want to say something?
Well, yeah, and this also shows that Buttigieg, it's like obviously doesn't give a fuck about regular people.
It doesn't seem like it.
No, if he's just spending his time, especially at this stage.
At this stage.
At this stage of the race to go, pander to the elites. I mean, unless he's, live streaming that on YouTube.
Right.
For the regular people to see. I don't think he is, though.
Hey, how about that? That's a great idea, Matt. Why doesn't if he's going to invite the Daily Beast to sit in on his phone call, why doesn't Pete Buttigieg also live stream that phone call so everybody could watch? Do you know how many live streamers he would get? I mean, there'd be a lot of viewers for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd tune in.
Hell yeah, I would. But I think there's some reasons he's not.
So I bet there's some reasons. Here's a little bit more for that article. It also signals that for all the focus on the early voting states, Buttigieg's team sees a convention floor fight as a possible path towards securing the party's nomination. It's exactly what we've been saying. Nobody wants to anticipate a campaign where we go to a second ballot. Ha 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 ha! That's exactly what they want. Everyone who's a party insider, everybody except the Bernie Sanders supporters wants to see this go to a second ballot. Every Democrat, everybody in the DNC, they all want to see it go to a second. Are you kidding me? So this is obvious political liary. And how do I know it? Well, who said this? Let's see who said it. Nobody wants to anticipate a campaign where we go to a second ballot, but if you're smart, you have to, said Jed Ober. Who's Jed Ober? That's Hillary for America's deputy delegate director in 2016. He's saying nobody wants to anticipate a campaign where we go to a second ballot and insiders pick, people like me get to pick and all that stuff. Nobody wants that. So obviously, that's coming from someone who ran Hillary's deputy. That's all they want. That's exactly who people like Hillary Clinton was strong with. The donors, the super delegates, not with the people. Here we go. Ober joined Monday's call on Wild's behalf. Who was Wild? That's he's also so this guy Ober, who was Hillary for America's deputy delegate director in 2016, is now chief of staff to Representative Susan Wild of Pennsylvania. She's a super delegate, and she's uncommitted. So this guy Ober took her spot on this super delegate call. Do you get that? Do you follow me? So the super delegate is Susan Wild. She was busy, couldn't make that phone call with Pete Buttigieg to be. And so Jed Ober sat in for him. So he was acting as a super delegate. And this guy's such a horrible liar. He says nobody wants to anticipate a campaign where I get to choose who the nominee is. Is that really what you think we're supposed to buy? Ober joined Monday's call on Wild's behalf. He said that Buttigieg campaign was the first to reach out this cycle. Pete Buttigieg's first campaign to reach out to the superdelegates this cycle. And that all signs point to them building a sophisticated delegate wrangling operation. Any of these campaigns that have a legitimate shot to win should be doing this, Ober said. Yes, of course, you should be participating in corruption, anti-democratic activities, which is exactly what this is. This is the opposite of democracy. This is courting oligarchs to support me.
I wonder how much of his time is taken away from being a mayor.
That's right. And he couldn't, he wouldn't get reelected as mayor. He's done a shitty job as mayor.
But do they have super delegates there?
I mean, there are football teams with bigger rosters than the population of South Bend. This guy's running for president because he ran South Bend, Indiana. I've been to South Bend, Indiana. Don't blink, you'll miss it. There aren't even enough people for a congressional. What's the population of South Bend, Indiana? I'm going to guess it's 100,000 people or less. Or less.
What
Right?
do you want to say?
I was just saying, like, the second round, like, the proof that the DNC wants a second round, the second ballot, is because you don't need a second round.
That's right.
You don't need it.
You don't need it.
So they put it because they want the real solution is ranked choice voting. We really need that, not just in the general, but in the primaries.
That's a great
And
point. That's a great point. That's right. And you never hear a Democrat party insider calling. If you never hear anybody calling for that except the Green Party.
Yeah, no need for super delegates if you do ranked choice voting.
Yeah, Bernie doesn't even talk about it. So how many people live in South Bend?
100,000.
100,000.
Hey, can you find out
That's
how
not even-
many
that-
votes he earned?
That's not even enough
that's
people for a congressional district. That's not even enough people for a congressional district, just so you know. You need 600,000 for a congressional district. I'm pretty sure that's how many each congressional district represents, 600,000 people. And so Pete Buttigieg is being a mayor of a town of 100,000. You could have 5 of those cities, you still wouldn't have enough for a congressional district. So he's about one. And by the way, has not done a good job.
He speaks nice, like Obama. He does.
He does.
But like, I'll just never forget. I apologize in advance. I was watching a little Bill Maher. But so Buttigieg is on there, and Maher gives him the opportunity. All right, so this is your chance. Tell America what you stand for. He started talking about the transgender and using restrooms issue. That's the one that's what he talks about, and it's one opportunity to talk to all of America. Now, obviously, that's an issue, but it's not a big issue that affects most people.
He didn't bring up an economic issue or about ending the wars and then reinvesting that money back home. None of that stuff.
Didn't do that.
No, so because he knows Bill Maher agrees with him on that issue, right? So when Bill Maher says he's to the left or he's a lefty, the only evidence of it is stuff like the bathroom bill, because he's for every war. He's for Venezuela, Syria, Libya, Iraq. He still likes the Vietnam War. Wow. I mean, that's how bad. And this is considered our lefty comedian that's supposed to be given. George Carlin wasn't given that show on fucking HBO. It was Bill Maher. Why? Because Bill Maher got his mind right. They fired him for telling the truth once about terrorism, and that's all he needed. And now he is a neoliberal through and through. And again, they don't need to send him a memo. He's been a millionaire for 30, 40 years by this point, and that's all he talks to is other millionaires. He is one of them. In any other world, Bill Maher would be a right-winger, except for the bathroom bills and stuff like that.
And you know what I find interesting about the bathroom bill? I was just on a plane recently. I don't want to brag. I was flying, and I went to the bathroom and I'm like, oh, this is a non-gender specific restroom. How do people deal with it? Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody's up in arms. Oh, we've got to have this, men and women. We don't need it on a plane. Nobody gives two shits about that.
Good point.
Yeah, I wouldn't want men going into a bathroom where there were little girls. I wouldn't want that happening.
Right.
Right. So on a plane, it's just a single use, so it's a different thing. There aren't people there aren't sinks or multiple stalls. So yeah, I don't want guys going into a bathroom where there's little girls. But anyway, there you go. That's now you know why the Democratic Party is completely corrupt. why Pete Buttigieg is a phony, and that the mainstream media has convinced most of the people in the country that he's a viable candidate for president because for no reason. There's no reason. He has no accomplishments. He's a guy who it's because he's openly gay. He's the first openly gay guy to run for president. Is that it?
That's it.
I think that's it. And then he's a Rhodes Scholar. And I have yet to see a public Rhodes Scholar that isn't a sociopath. Have you?
See, all I know is Rachel
Right? There's
Maddow,
Rachel
yeah.
Maddow,
Bill Clinton.
Bill
Oh,
Clinton,
shit.
Pete Buttigieg.
Shit, well,
Anyway,
yeah.
I know you know that I'm saying that for humor. And I say that in case you don't know, actually. Our next live Jimmy Dore show is August 24th in Denver, Colorado. Then we're going to San Francisco, Seattle, Baltimore, and Honolulu for Christmas. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a link for all tickets. And if you'd like to support the show, that's how we do this. Become a premium member or a patron. We give you hours of bonus material every week. Thanks for your support.